Whoa! It's the illusion reporting from somewhere on spaceship Earth. Driving back up. So I was just down in Bakersfield, right? And I was checking out some thrift stores, doing a little secondhand Lego looking, didn't find anything, but so I ended up in like downtown Bakersfield, like the official downtown, right? And I was sitting there and I was like, it's kind of cool down here on a cursory glance, right? There's like a cool little park that runs through like the middle of it all, and you know, it's got that thing, and then you know, you can see, if you look with real eyes, you can see that it's like not the kind of place you'd really want to hang out that much at, but you know, it's there, right? And then, you know, up here we got this town, Lake Isabella, which is, you know, you could see once upon a time was a whole different vibe, right? And so it kind of hit me, and this thing was like, you know, what's wrong with all of it? Like, I was sitting there in Bakersfield and I was like, oh, this town could like use a full makeover. It'd be kind of cool, dude. And same with this town up here, Lake Isabella, right? Could use a full makeover. It'd be like a cool little town. And then I was like, well, how did it get this way? Like, how did all this like get this way? Because it's not that you could make over all the buildings all day long, and yet that's not the problem, is it? And then it hit me. It's the demoralization, man. It's the breakdown of the American dream, if you will. You know, is that, you know, people have given up, dude. You know, drug addiction, lack of self, pride, motivation, lack of God, all of these things, dude. Lack of education, because it's not a question of like resources or anything like that. It's community, right? It's the vibe of the accumulation of people that are in any one of these given areas. And so, you know, I think about it, I go, what's so different now than, you know, let's say 50 years ago? And I always go back to this thing, and again, it's probably more, you know, myth than truth, but like, it seemed to me when you look at all the old photos back in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, any time pre like late 60s, it seemed like generally people kept themselves pretty well dressed. You know, you look at like when Martin Luther King and all those people are in the streets for civil rights, you know, they really like made sure they were well dressed, man. And you look at the pictures of, you know, America prior to the late 60s, and people in the background seem to just be nice, to have a nicer effect to them as far as their appearances are, you know? And I go, maybe it's just like that, is like, you know, I go to church, right? I go to church and, you know, I make sure I wear my pants and a button-up shirt, and you know, and I still know that on a certain level, I'm almost overdressing. Like, people wear like shorts and t-shirts with like logos and stuff on their t-shirts to church, and it trips me out, man. Like, it trips me out. Like you're going to church, dude. What happened to like your Sunday best thing, right? Like showing up for God, right? So I mean, even on that level, it's like even the people that are like going to church are like, it seems awfully casual to me. And I don't quite understand it. Like, I think that's because of lack of morale in our country. I think our morale is so low that you know, that's why the drugs have just taken hold of our country, you know, whether it be the fentanyls or the methamphetamines or whatever it is like, you can't have a drug addiction epidemic without, willing population of drug addicts. And, why are people addicted to drugs? I mean, ultimately they're unhappy. The whole modern thing going on with the drug thing is just so beyond my comprehension nowadays. It's like, I understand going and getting pickled at the bar and, blowing off some steam and all that stuff, but the level of like crippling debauchery right now is really next level, and it fully trips me out, because what are you going to do with people that have chosen to really, like, I don't know, almost permanently disable themselves? And you get into this thing where nobody really seems to care, which is just another like level to it, that it's like, it's a weird, there's like a weird cancer in the dream. I mean, I guess it really is the thing I talk about. It's the end of the timeline. There's nowhere really to go, dude. Like America tried, and it was and at the end of the day, people chose, addiction to self-gratification versus freedom, and freedom was something that requires full-blown responsibility. Like, you have to take responsibility for yourself, which means you have to take care of yourself. You have to keep your front yard clean, man, not just for yourself, but for the morale of the community. Like, that's what I sort of think about. Like when I pull up to our house, like, I don't keep it clean just for me, though I like it kind of tidy. I keep it tidy for those who are driving by, or those who live down the street, or the FedEx guy or the UPS guy that's got to pull up on my property, right? Because it is like a subconscious thing too, this taking care of yourself, right? In order to truly like take care of yourself, it can't just be for you. It's just like getting sober, right? If sobriety is just about you, that's a tough gig, but it can't be about other people either. It's sort of, it has to be this like duality of like the bigger picture, right? And the bigger picture is to be of service. So, you begin to look at some of this stuff and you realize that, like, I don't know how you unring the bell, man. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, I was looking at this town, right? And you could see that, like, there was a moment where it was like it believed in itself, right? It totally believed in itself, and it might have had that kind of belief in itself to carry it through. But then something happened, and like, what was it? Was it the LSD of the 60s? Was it the cocaine of the 70s? Was it all the pharmaceutical medication of the 90s? Was it the methamphetamines of the early 2000s? Was it the fentanyls of the the era we live in now? It just seems to like have progressed. It's almost, it's such a convoluted thing. But I see sometimes the infrastructure of it, and I'm like, if only it just needs a little bit of a makeover. And then I'm like, well, what would the makeover do if the makeover isn't like the spirit of the people, right? And it kind of goes back to my whole thing I've made videos about, sort of the abortion issue, is like, if you're gonna save lives in utero, you should be busy saving lives that are already born. Like, if you're gonna fix a community, I guess you gotta start by fixing the spirit of the people, right? Like and you know, I guess that's where like a little bit of like proselytizing in God, right? Like I don't get how people don't see it. The reason that our society's falling apart is godlessness. Is people have been convinced to turn their back on God, that God is some lame concept. But yet you wouldn't want to let your community fall apart and get dilapidated and get all sketchy if everybody was on the same page about God. It's very much this weird thing of like, where do you start? And I guess you got to start within your own soul, right? And then, you know, you've got to like try to lift the souls of those around you. And that's where the real work is. That's why everybody's a quitter, right? That's why nobody actually is getting any of it done, right? Because it's an immense amount of work, because, you know, you have to keep yourself constantly in touch with the power greater than yourselves, with God, and then you have to worry about like elevating, you know, those around you, which means that there's a certain level of, you got to take it on, right? You've got to be willing to put hands on it, so to speak. You have to be willing to get a little bit dirty. And I get it, like, yeah, that's where the rub is, right? Like, you gotta go and like, oh yeah, dude, like, you gotta get down and dirty. But like, there's a level of like, it's just so, you know, the overwhelming level of filth now is just, it's gotten so deep. It's like, how do you even chip away at it, man? It's calcified. It really has. And I don't know, man. I see constantly glimpses of what it could be. And then I go, well, why isn't it? And I go, is it really just drugs and bad attitudes? And then I go, well, why is everybody on drugs with bad attitudes, man? And I go, is it because we don't have a mission? Like, there's no collective goal? And I really do think that's one of the driving problems with a community and culture and all that. Like, you watch those videos of like the Amish people like moving a barn, right? I mean, go watch one of those videos of like, you know, like 150 dudes lifting up a barn and like walking it like to its new location. I mean, all of those people can get together and do that because like they're all in on it. It all serves them to help their neighbor because their neighbor will help them. And I think that's been one of the con jobs that's been just shoveled down, you know, the American thing is like, freedom means you don't have to do anything. Like, what if freedom means you're supposed to help your neighbor, dude? You know, what if freedom means you're supposed to take on the responsibility of community? You know, I think everybody took freedom to be, I just get to go be like a Barney and smoke weed and like self-aggrandize myself all day long. Well, maybe freedom really is about like realizing that you can only be as free as your neighbor, right? If your neighbor is choosing to live in captivity, like by default, you're sort of in captivity with them peripherally, you know? And you know, that's where everyone's just like moves into suburbs where they like, I met my other neighbor today, dude. Like I'm stoked to live in a place where I'm getting to know my neighbors finally, dude. I lived in that cul-de-sac in Westlake and only really got to know one of my neighbors. And she was cool, but she was old schooler, dude. Like, that's what I mean. It's like what has been taught to the youth and the younger generations, it's just this selfish thing. I don't know, man. But anyway, we just got out of the twisty turnies and we're here. I don't know, man. Like, I'm a believer at the end of this video here. I truly do believe in a brighter new day, even though the the powers that be are trying to KO the whole thing, dude. And they might, and I'm sure they will. But we're gonna rebuild a whole new society out of this, you know, a society, because the only way we're gonna survive this is by helping each other, by neighbor helping neighbor and not being selfish. The days of just you get to go be selfish by yourself are coming to an end. Yeah, I just get to go off and do what I want by myself, and yeah, screw you, and I can get as high as I want and run around and be a dumb idiot, dude. I think those days are coming to an end. And they're not gonna be tolerated. Like, that's sort of where I'm at. Like, I'm sitting back, like I'm all for getting rid of the cops, right? We need to police ourselves. But I'll tell you what, the soft, lame people, they'll be wishing the cops came back, because when it's left to people like that actually care about it, we're not going to tolerate any of this debauchery. It's going to be up against the wall, man. Like, straight up, just up against the wall. Like, we've been here before. History's been here before, man. You don't want to cooperate and be part of a good mission, then all of a sudden some real authoritarian dark ideas get in charge, dude, and it's up against the wall, dude. So, you know, at this point, man, you know, we're at the crossroads, dude, because this personalized debauchery freedom is just tearing our society apart. The right to go out and just get as loaded and dumb as you want is tearing our culture apart. And maybe that is our culture. Maybe our culture is just one of just, yeah, debauchery and blah, and just sloppy spilling, just, you know, that vibe. And maybe it's time to take everybody out and, you know, work out. Mandatory morning calisthenics. Make everybody dig a little ditch nest, dude. Dig their own 4x8 foot ditch 6 feet deep, dude. Just let that be a little reminder of where you can go spend a bunch of time if you want to go be a drug addict lunatic. They should make all these people that do this stuff, like, go dig their own little 4x6x8 ditch, dude, and just be like, look, that you can either have that, or you can get your act together and clean up your act and shave your face and take a shower and, like, be a productive member of society, or you can be a scummy drug addict thief. The choice is yours, dude. But it's not their fault, man. They're shipping it over on the border. Yeah, that's where we all get to own a little bit of responsibility about this thing too, is, you know, we ain't doing anything to, like, stop this madness, dude. I mean, I saw that thing where they're like, you know, they're smuggling fentanyl in the Nerds and Skittles packages. Jiminy crickets, dude. Like, what? But they've been doing that, smuggling it in candy, for as long as I can remember. But I don't know, dude. What are you gonna put up with, dude? Are you, like, I'm gonna say, I had a cool conversation with the kid today, Juan, collecting signatures. He got it. We talked. We introduced ourselves. We used the name tags. So I don't know, man. Anyway, this is The Illusion. Just babbling babbles. Babbling, dude, on the 173 from Bakersfield to Lake Isabella, dude. There you go, dude. Hooah! Use the name tag, links down below, support the channel. All right.